Richard Skipper celebrates. Every show is a celebration. Each show, Richard delivers the artists you love, showcasing what makes them unique. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Happy Saturday, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. And just as we started, the sirens start going past our house. It's a crazy, crazy time that we're living in. But tonight, I want to take you back to a happier time. I want to go back 11 years ago, and I hit pay dirt in New York along with my dear friend, Dana Lorge. We hosted Wednesday night at the Iguana every Wednesday night, and the place was packed, along with Barry Levitt at the piano, and sometimes Sadi Zain on bass, and a myriad of other bass players. We created magic. We would have 21 performers on stage every single week. And we came in on time, we ended on time. And one of the great things about Wednesday night at the Iguana was all of the incredible people that I met as a result of that. And Dana and I went on to win 2 MAC Awards as Best Variety Series and Best Host. But this isn't about me. This isn't about Dana. This show is about celebrating other artists and their body of worth. And I have always said, I love artists. I love the theater. I love going to the theater. I love being in the spotlight, but I also love sitting in the audience and seeing those incredible artists up there on the stage. And I love celebrating them. And it's a lot easier when the people that you're celebrating also happen to be a friend. Now, Warren Schein, who you're going to meet in just a second, and I were scheduled to do this on October 4th. Yep. And then I had an ear infection, and I had to shut down everything for a few days. But we rescheduled, and we're here tonight. And Warren, I'm thrilled that you're here. And I want to ask, before we delve into your life and career and all the incredible things that you've done and the people that you've worked with, how you're doing right now in the midst of this crazy world we're in.
Well, I'm doing better than I thought I would be, I have to say. I will not lie and say I don't have any anxiety, because we all have a little. But you know what? You have to smile. Mm-hmm. You have to start a new day. And like we talked about earlier, when you're feeling a little down, call a friend.
Absolutely.
Call a friend. So I'm just trying to keep myself as busy as I can be, work on some projects. And I'm as happy as a pea to be here with you tonight.
Well, I'm thrilled you're here. I want to go back. It's been 247 days. Can you believe it?
It's amazing.
Theater shut down, since everything shut down. And I want to know, all the theaters shut down on March 12th. You're probably one of the busiest people that I know in this business. What did your calendar look like on March 11th?
My calendar was, I would say, about 75% full. And to this day, I have not put an X over any date because I just can't do it. I can't. It's been devastating, I have to say. I won't lie about that. But I have to look for the future. You have to look ahead. And if you can keep doing that, hopefully the bookings that we've all lost, we're going to get back hopefully next year sometime or the year after.
I know for a fact that if I was to unfortunately cut your arm, show business would ooze out. You live, eat, and breathe this business.
That's right.
So what are you doing to keep yourself creative during this time?
Well, that's a great question, because trying to become motivated is very, very difficult. Mm-hmm. And you just, you wake up and you have your coffee. My routine now is I have my coffee. I watch a little bit of the news. I can't take too much of it, to tell you the truth. I just can't. Oh, who can? I don't know. But I do not turn on that television the entire day. And I go out and do my walking and exercising so I can lose some of my chubbiness. And I come home and I start working on new material, which I am. And I've got some exciting news, but we could wait a little bit later for that, maybe. And I just push myself to work on material. And,
well, I want to ask you, I mean, you bring up a very interesting point. I mean, so many of us right now are obsessed with the news. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we are stuck at home and we aren't getting out and doing the creative things that we would be doing. Without getting into details, please, prior to this time frame that we're in, were you ever political, or were you an activist or involved in any way?
I was more than I can say. I'd have to go back many, many years, from high school days and college days. I worked for Bobby Kennedy. I worked for John Lindsay. I worked for Jack Kennedy. I worked, on the outside of the political spectrum, but I believed, especially in Bobby Kennedy, very much. I idolized him. Mm-hmm. And, I wasn't trying to be an opportunist. I just felt that what would the future be like if we completely ignored and did not try to help what we think would be the right thing to do? And I just wanted to do it. And even after we lost him, I worked on many offside campaigns raising money for charities through the Kennedy Foundation. And I got to know a lot of, I have to say, celebrities, which helped to push me faster into the direction that I really wanted to go into. So I was fortunate in that respect.
Now, one other fortunate thing about that time frame was that there was no social media.
Nothing.
So, how are you able, or do you keep your professional career and your political career completely separate?
Well, to be perfectly honest, and that I say what I feel all the time, I'm not hiding anywhere. I'm shutting my mouth a little bit, because too many people are fighting and arguing and going crazy and nutty. And you know what? There are some people I just haven't spoken to in a long time for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. And there are some that understand, and we still have I love them. I love them all,
right.
But I just, it grieves me too much. And I was coming down with such anxiety that this little Jewish guy was calling his Jewish doctor and saying, "Dr. Holly, I think I need something here, And she said, "Stop talking about it." And you know what? She was right to a lot of respects. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I just have to forge forward and work on projects. And that's what I'm doing. And it does help. But I don't want to lose friendships over things like this. I just don't want to. Life is too short. And believe it or not, and I'm sure you'll agree, these 200 and something days have gone by almost as if we've worked all this time. It's
funny. I think the mind has a funny way of looking at things. Even though I haven't seen people physically, by doing what I'm doing, I feel like I've seen them. I've been with them. I feel like I'm with you right now, and we are.
Your show has worked for me, because I think if you were to take attendance on Richard Skipper Celebrates, or whomever and whatever who you're interviewing, I'm going to say that I'm there 9 out of 10 times. Why? Because it helps me to be informed of what's going on, and the shows are great. I don't have to kiss you that much.
I will appreciate it.
No, but I do. And it is true. 2 weeks ago, when you had the Rat Pack, gentlemen, well, that could have gone on for days.
And wasn't it amazing what we found out about them?
It was some things I didn't know, and I'm pretty nosy.
Deconstructing the Rat Pack. Go and watch.
That's right, I was.
And and I was watching earlier when I was getting ready for tonight's show. Robin and the Seven Hoods is on TCM.
Yes, today. Yeah.
And of course, I watched this, and I think this may seem odd that I'm saying this, but I think of you, because you really embody that show business. That was a show business that we don't see very much anymore. No. I've always said that there are entertainers and there are performers. A seal is a performer. A seal is only interested in getting a fish. It will balance the ball on its nose. It will do whatever it can to get the end result.
Yes.
An entertainer is always, 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 always focused on the audience. And that's you.
Thank you. It's what I live for. And, you know, in today's world with this new virtual entertainment, well, we have to face the fact temporarily, as I say, we really don't have a choice in the matter. And what we're missing, you do see the audience through the camera, through your computer, but you're not getting the real emotion. You're not getting the true laughter. You know, you sing a song that's been written by, you know, someone who has worked years on one song, and you're trying to get the emotion and the feeling and the lyric out. And when the song is over, where's the applause? Where's that wow factor? You're not really feeling that as much. And it's hard, you know, because when this is all you want to do, the truth is, I never wanted to be a doctor. I never wanted to be a lawyer. And I'm Jewish. And it's just what I miss the most. I miss that connection of the human spirit.
Well, I want to go back to the moment in your life when you decided that this was the business that you had to be in. Not that you wanted to be in, you had to be in show business. Was there a defining moment in your life that happened for you?
Well, yeah, it was. I always knew that there was something about music, especially Broadway, which you were talking about yesterday with Raja from Encores. Robert, sorry. And I'm going to show you something because you asked this question. This is, let's see, I'm going to say 50 years old, this manuscript of music. I was in the 6th grade. They were having a talent contest. And I signed up to be in it. And everyone was playing the saxophone or reading a poem or something. And the whole audience, the auditorium was packed with people and parents. I got up and I sang the opening number to Guys and Dolls, the Guys and Dolls song. At the end of the show, the principal gets up and he said, well, we have 3 winners. And they named the third runner-up and the second runner-up. And our first one, the winner, and he said, I don't know why he picked this song or this to do. It's Warren Schein. Now, if you think I'm short now, just imagine how short I was then.
Now, had you done any performing at all prior to that?
A little bit. You know, my mother was a entertainer. She was a lyric soprano and a tap dancer.
Oh, wow.
For real.
Did you do both at the same time?
Huh?
Did she do both at the same time?
Yeah, well, when I was growing up, my mother was in local community shows. I have 2 older brothers, so she was, you know, raising the family. But my mother could tap like Ann Miller, and she could sing it was just beautiful. And she was pushing all of us. My brothers are both musical, but there was something different about me. And whenever there was a family party, a family circle, I was in the middle and I'm conducting music off the record player and singing. And I was in, you know, kids shows and things. And one thing led to the other. And then I got into the High School of Performing Arts. One thing led to that. Then I went to my regular high school, and I just always knew there was something. I didn't want to do anything else. There's a feeling that you get that is very hard to define. Mm-hmm. You could be nervous and have some anxiety. Even doing your show today, getting ready, I'm all set up, and you know, I'm got my material if I need it. But when you're in front of live people, an audience, it is the greatest feeling on earth, and it is better than, it's like having a new baby over and over and over. I don't know how else to describe it. But
well, you were very fortunate that you had a mom who was in the business.
Yes.
But did you grow up in an artistic household beyond that? I mean, were you always listening to cast albums, show tunes?
Yes.
Was that the kind of music in your home?
I have a collection of Capitol LPs that's got to go back even before I maybe when I was born, I don't know. But I have hundreds of original shows, from Guys and Dolls, Little Abner, Camelot. Name the show, I have it. And I keep them safe and secure. I've been offered so much for them, and I will never. I have original 78s when they used to come in a book form.
Oh, yes, I have them too.
And I'm going to tell you who they're signed by. They're signed by Sophie Tucker, who my father was in the footwear and the shoe industry. And his company were making shoes, and he had to do some for, specialty orders. And obviously, well, she was performing at a nightclub in New York. And before he left, he said, "Sophie, is everything okay?" And she said, "Dave, it was." And there on the front of the cover, "To my dear Dave, I cannot love you and tell you how much I love you and love you and love you enough," signed, "Your Sophie." And Tucker, which is and I'm never going to give that away.
No, you don't want to give that up. And what was the first Broadway show that you saw?
The first Broadway show I ever saw was, believe it or not, was Bye Bye Birdie, but it was not on Broadway. It had recently closed, and my parents took me to the Mineola Playhouse in Long Island because Cheetah Rivera was touring in it with Tom Poston in the part of Albert. Now, here's what's going to blow your eyeballs out of your head. When I got into high school and I was a senior, every year they did a senior musical. And I was involved in theater in high school all the time. Mm-hmm. Well, the show that the teacher picked, the musical director, was Bye Bye Birdie, and I got to play Albert Peterson.
Wow.
It was I can remember it like it was yesterday. How scary is that?
Was there any resistance at all from your parents when you decided that you wanted to go to the High School of Performing Arts?
No. My parents pushed me. Not so much my dad, but whenever, my parents were I would say your typical Jewish parents. They were wonderful. I can't complain about a thing, really. I had a great childhood. And to this day, I miss them every day. Like we all will miss them.
Yeah, of course. Now, you mentioned your brothers. Are your brothers still around?
Yes.
And are they in the business at all?
No. Well, my older brother was a professional commercial photographer. His specialty was food. And he didn't do, he did portraits and things, but he had hands made of gold. They both played guitar fabulously. And my older brother, Barry, who I'm talking about, his hands were so gifted. He built his own guitar.
Wow.
From scratch. He played the 12-string guitar. And when it comes to photography, he was incredible. Except if you ask him to take a picture. That I would, please, can't bother him with that. And my middle brother, Robert, funniest.
I have a question for you. So your cousin couldn't get a Bissell mention?
Not a mention for nothing.
Burton Schein is watching. So.
Oh my! Burton also went to high school performing arts. Burton is best friends. I'm going to embarrass him with Andre DeShields, who I've gotten to know because they live next door to each other for many years. So I'm giving out a big secret here, and he's very nice, Andre. But my cousin Burton and I spent a lot of time singing Broadway shows together because he was also very
So it's one thing to go to the High School of Performing Arts. It's another thing to start delving out into the world and start doing it. So how did that begin for you?
Well, with a lot of guts and courage. The first professional singing experience I had was in the Catskills, of course, at the Homowack Hotel. And I was opening up, may he rest in peace, Sal Richards.
Oh my God, yes.
Now let me tell you something. I'm laughing because he was a funny man, a very funny man. And he said to me, I had never gone on before. It was a midweek show. Some Hadassah group had booked the place. And I was going to wet my pants. I had all these beautiful charts that Dana had made me get arranged.
Now, in case there's anyone out there who doesn't know, we're talking about Dana Lorge.
There she is.
There she is. May she rest in peace.
Yes.
Oh, we love her. God, do I love her.
I
think of her every day.
Think about it. It was the greatest for Richard and I, couldn't have had a better friend in the world. Mm-hmm. And I get on stage and he pulls me aside and he goes, Warren, you've never met me. I've never met you. And, you know, Sal was a great mafia actor. You know, he was a great, like a Sopranos style, big heart, gentle as a pussycat. Don't tell one joke. Don't be funny. I'm going to come after you. I'm going to hunt. I said, Sal, I promise. I was getting on my knees. The band leader comes over to me before I go on. And he says, screw him. You do whatever you want. So I go on and I do my 35, 40 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I smiled. I laughed. And he took me to Poppy's Pancake House afterwards up in the Catskills to eat after that. But that was my very first.
And how did you get that job? Was it through Dana?
No, actually, it was my mother. Oh. She happened to know two of the program directors. I didn't even have to go through Arnold or Howie. I got it on my own, and I got paid $150.
That's Arnold Graham and Howie Rapp.
Right, that's right.
I will fill all the blanks in.
And he's probably now going to call and say, I want the commission because I was
right.
But anyhow,
and I love them both dearly.
Oh, very beautiful. All of them. They just love it.
Yes.
And I got that. From there, I was pushing and getting to know people. And I was playing the Chacha Lanes or the bungalow colonies.
Well, I want to go back to that opening night for you. Did you hit a home run the first time out?
I killed. That was down to when it was over, you know, no cell phones. I had to call. I had to go to the front desk of the hotel to make a phone call.
Now, I want to go back. First of all, let me share this story, if you don't mind, since we're going to talk about Dana for a few moments. The first time I met Dana, my publicist was Phyllis Raskin. Did you? Yes. So I am at a party at Phyllis Raskin's, and Dana, for those of you who did not know Dana, you missed out because Dana, she was always on, always. And so I'm sitting on the sofa meeting this woman for the first time, and she is dressed to the nines. She looks like she was ready to go on stage at Trump's Taj Mahal in Atlanta.
Oh, thank you. You couldn't pick another place. Because...
Well, I mentioned that place because I performed there. So we're sitting there, and sitting at the piano is John Mayer. Yes. So I say to Dana, why don't you get up and sing? And she looked at me and she says, how did you know I could sing? I said, look at you. You have to be able to sing. She says, I only do specialty material. And I said, well, maybe he knows it. So I pull her up and she says, I only do specialty material. And he said, like what? He says, well, one of the songs I sing is I'd like to hate myself in the morning.
Oh, gosh.
And he said, I wrote that song. He said, no, you didn't. And she said, I only do Shirley Bassey's arrangement. He said, I wrote that arrangement.
He did.
He did. And she sang. That was the beginning for Dana and me. But she was one of the funniest people on and off stage.
Oh.
When I was with Dana, I cried all the time because she just made me laugh so much. How did you and Dana meet?
I was walking down the street and she said, hey, mister. No. Dana was running a variety show at the Pan Am Motor Inn on Queens Boulevard in Queens. And I have to say at one time, it was when Pan Am bought that hotel and built it, it was magnificent. And it was built for the pilots and the flight attendants to stay. And it was a hotel. And when you walked in the lobby to the right, they had the most glamorous Las Vegas style nightclub. When I walked in, I went from a little Jew to a hot little Italian guy. I'd walk in and it was fantastic, Richard. It was powder blue carpeting and rhinestones, all perfect for her. Someone recommended I go see her. And I cannot remember this gal's name. She used to book me in temples, civic organizations. And you have to see this Dana Lodge. I walk in. Remember Dana's song, Irving?
Oh, yes.
Okay, famous song. She's dressed in that red glitter with the cowboy hat and red suede.
And the fake toy gun.
And I introduced myself. I said, "Excuse me, my name is Warren Schein," because just looking at her, I was afraid she's going to smack me across the face. Well, she goes, "You're Warren?" And she hugs me and kisses me. Well, I can only tell you, 40-something years later, it was a friendship that was...
I want to tell you, I got sick of hearing about you before I met you. Everything
people say that.
No, I say that with the utmost kindness. She absolutely was crazy about you, and why not? Everybody is.
Well, thank you.
No, it's true. But when did you first appear on stage together?
Well, when she was doing this variety show, it was for individual acts. And while I was performing there for the next forever, Dana and I were booked to go to the Caribbean. And they were taking individual performers. And they said, however, the two of you seem to click so well together. And in all the years that we worked, we had routines that we wrote, but we never finished them because we just couldn't stop laughing and we would read each other's minds. Well, the first place we get booked was St. Martin and St. Kitts. She says, "Do you want to do it?" I said, "Do the bears go in the woods? Let's do this." Well, we put our material together, and in my short-winded way, we're going to play the Concord Hotel in St. Martin. We have a 10-piece band. We get there to rehearse. Out of 10 musicians, 2 could possibly play.
Oh, I've done those gigs.
We've talked about this many times. So we opened up that night. The place was sold out, 500 people, and we literally improvised for an hour and 20 minutes, the two of us, because they couldn't. So we just came up with routines that we were stealing routines that Elaine May did or Stilla and me, anything we could think of because we had to. The manager comes up to us after the show, and he looks at her, and he said, "You know, madam, if you think that you're going to get away with doing this every night," and she goes, "Hold it, you know, Dana, you never put Dana Lodge up against the wall." Mm-hmm. She thought he was mad at her. He said, "No, I'm not mad. This has got to be the best performance that any 2 people have ever done in this hotel since we've opened. Can you do it like this every night?" So she said, "But will it be a different audience? Because we didn't even remember what we did." Well, that was our start together. And we always worked individually. But when we traveled, we worked together doing temples, condos, clubs, Proctor's theaters up in Schenectady. You name it, we did it.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about Dana. Then we're going to get back to you. We were going to David Friedman's class one night. And there's a salad place that we would go and make our own salads. And we were there, and she went into the ladies' room, and she came out, and she said, "I'm embarrassed, but my zipper is stuck, and I can't get the zipper up." So I said, "Well, let's go back into the ladies' room, and I will see if I can fix it." So we go into it was one of those individual bathrooms. So we go into the bathroom. I am on my knees in front of her, putting the zipper up. And the door opens, and this woman says, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I said, "It's okay. We just got married." And I thought Dana was going to have a heart attack. She laughed so much. But those were the kind of things with her. And we also had the experience. And let's talk about this other iconic person in our lives, and that was Ruth Stern. Now, when Ruth Stern passed away, she was an agent. I will say this on the plus side is that every gig that she booked us for, she was always there, and you got paid that night.
Yes.
It was never, ever, ever the check is in the mail. And when she died, I will never forget this. Freddie Roman spoke. Were you at the memorial at the Friars Club?
I wasn't here, but I.
And Freddie Roman said Ruth Stern had a very unique place in show business. She knew nothing about it, but she booked every name in the business.
But she didn't know anything about it. She knew nothing.
Yes, but how did you get involved with Ruth Stern?
through Dana. The same thing with High Einhorn. High Einhorn used to book some of the bungalow colonies, and he would tell you, this is where you're going, this is where you have to be. He wouldn't tell you that it's an Orthodox bungalow colony. So you would call him and go, hi, this happened to Dana first. She got there and there was no one in the audience. He said, well, do the show. So come 8 o'clock, because the sun had not gone down yet on Saturday night, they would not, Orthodox Jews would not come out. So right. They started to play the music. She got up. She did her first number. She put the mic back in the stand, went into the audience, sat in a chair, and applauded.
I know that story.
And she went back up. So she said, when you go there, you have to make sure. Sure enough, it happened to me. I did the same thing, because they lied to us. They just get up there, do a show. And that's the way it was going to be. But you know something? I'd give up everything if I had a booking there tomorrow. I'm still playing Rosemarin's Bungalow Colony. They've been in business, I'm going to say, close to 60 years. And Mr. and Mrs. Rosemarin, they're still alive. And Scott, their son, still runs it. And it's a blast to go there. It's just so much fun.
I know, 'cause I seen some of the comments. There are a lot of performers that are joining us tonight because they all love you, Warren. They're watching, but there are some people here who may not be in the business.
Yes.
And for those who are not in the business, it's not just getting up and doing a show and going home and sitting on your laurels. It's constantly working towards the next one. And it's this continuation. At what point in your career did you feel I've made it?
January 23rd of this year. That's when I thought, I've always felt that I was never the cabaret star performer. Not that I had to be, because I love cabaret. As soon as I can finally figure out what the definition of it is, I still haven't. But when I was out of college, I was playing in places like Alan Dick's Steakhouse, the Copa, and I always felt that I was working and I was getting paid for what I do. And I never would say no to someone, especially to you. And this is to your credit, because people don't say it enough. When you put on Richard Skipper Celebrates, maybe we go back about a year. Mm-hmm. I was working with you for 3 days straight in 3 different, you had your round table. We were doing something up.
It just worked out that way.
It did. After that, I don't get a goddamn thing from you. Thank you. Piece of trash that you are. But no,
stop.
And so that's my problem. My point is that people would say, Warren, my gosh. See, on Facebook, I don't put down my stomach hurts, I've got a headache, I'm having open heart surgery. I don't believe in it. I believe that it was put there to put publicists out of business, God forbid. My first publicist was Don Schaefer. The greatest man. And
let's send out a prayer to him. He's dealing with a lot of issues.
A lot of issues. He was dealing with them then. People didn't know. How did I find him? Through Jan Woolman, the great, may she rest in peace. She was like a godmother to me. And I worked with a gentleman, I know I'm going off track, but I worked for almost 20 years with the musical director. His name was Albie Barr.
My God. It's like I feel like my life is flashing before me.
Well, it's flashing by me all the time. He was next to Dana. Dana and Albie were the 2 closest people. And I love my family, and I don't want them to ever get upset with me. But people who are not in the business never understand what being in the business is. Mm-hmm. It's another life, and it's another lifestyle. Even my significant other, she'll say, it's a whole different life. I'm not even included. I'm sorry. You are, but I can't help it. Doesn't Danny ever say to you, gee, Richard, just for one night, could you stay home and have dinner with me? And I know that you do, but
we do that every night now.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
I said it's a good thing we like each other.
But it's a different it's a different life that we have, and it's better than drugs. You know what? Those that have been on drugs because of show business, I've never been that unfortunate or that lucky. But the thrill of when I became a swing on Ricky Ritzel's Broadway reviews, and he could use me once in a while to where he was booking me where I could play Tevye, or I could play Marrying Sam from Little Abner. It was a gift that he gave me that I look forward to. And the work that you'd put into that, you can't buy that in the store, and the doctor can't give you a pill for that.
Now, I'll tell you a very interesting story about Jan Wallman. When Dana and I, the opening night, our first night of Wednesday night at the Iguana, we had taken over because the person who was running the evening, with all due respect, they weren't bringing in a big crowd. But they reached out to me and asked me if I would take over for a few weeks. And the first person I called was Dana. And we were very excited. And within moments, we had 125 reservations.
It was great.
We're not used to. So I called the Iguana and I said, make sure that they're prepared because we're going to be, I'm telling you, there was a line down the block.
That's right.
But they were not prepared. They had one waitress on duty. People were lined up. There were not enough tables for everyone. There was no table service. No. Everything that you could possibly mention that would go wrong went wrong. And I swear to God, Jan Wallman, whom I loved and was a dear friend, but she came up to me and she said it was the worst night of her life in the world of cabaret. Ooh. She was going to tell the world to stay away.
Whoa!
And I said, give me 3 weeks and then come back. And if you still want to say that, do that. And she promised me that. And Dana and I went and we met with the owners. We told them what we wanted, what we needed. They gave it to us. And we were off and running.
Yes.
But there's so many nights that we have in this business where we show up and you think this is something you've worked towards.
It is.
And then the planets go awry and everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. Now, I've heard many of Dana's stories. What do you consider your go-to story as the worst night that you ever had on stage? Or have you ever had one?
Yeah, well, no, it's happened. Thank goodness. I've been very, knock on wood, nothing traumatic. I was lucky when we were in St. Martin because I was working with Dana. I was young and didn't, know from anything, but I felt confident because of who I was with. But if you've ever walked out on stage and you look at the audience, there was a joke like at the Concord Hotel. It held 3,000 people. That's a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But when you walk out on a stage, I was in Florida, and there were 1,650 people. And it was raining that night. And they lost power. And they had generators. But it took forever for the power to power up the lights and the sound. And you have to go through all the sound checks and everything that you did at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And all these Yenta Talabendas in the audience. So on my own, the show wasn't ready to start. I ran out center stage, and I just made this little kind of funny speech about what's going to just give us a little bit of time. And I promise for the $4.20 you paid to see me, I'll give you $8 worth, whatever it was. But other than that, it's, if you forget a word or a line or two or something, the audience doesn't know because you don't let them know. And even if you do, they're going to love you even more. You just go out there, be yourself. Mm-hmm. Stop. Everybody goes out with this thing on stage. It does have to be perfect. As Marilyn would always say, you're not going out there for yourself. You're going out there for the people who bought those tickets to come in.
You also have to know, and this is absolutely true, those people that are sitting in that audience, they don't want you to fail.
Oh, no.
They want to have a good time. They've invested their money, even if it is $4 and change.
That's right.
To be there. They want to have a great time. One of the other things that you've done that I want to talk about for a moment, there's so many things we could go on and on and on, because I think the only thing that you haven't done in this business is being a sumo wrestler. And maybe you've done that too. I don't know.
I tried, but I got a hernia from lifting him up. It was too heavy.
But you also, you and Patricia Fitzpatrick, you've been such a part of Cabaret Fest for so many years. How did that start for you? And how many Cabaret Fest have you done?
I did 5 or 6. And I'm going to tell you how I got to know Patricia Fitzpatrick. I haven't mentioned this person's name at all during this interview. Dana Lorch. And Dana kept saying to Patricia, for the love of God, trust me on this one thing. So I started going up. I don't remember when, maybe 2014 or I don't remember. And I would just, do the open mic and some of the comic open mics for her. I wasn't headlining or anything. And I said, is there anything, this was my first mistake. I said, is there anything I can do to help you in organizing? Well,
never ask that question in this business.
What a schmuck I was, So I love her. Patricia.
I do too.
She's a talented.
We both love you, Patricia.
And I love her. She knows that. And I got to know her very well. And then I was not there this year, but 2 years ago, I was headlining and I was writing shows for Patricia, her 1940s review. And not that she needed anyone to write, because she's very good at that. Mm-hmm. She's very good at her repertoire about her life. She's done a lot, and it's fascinating.
She's lived it.
Oh, she's lived it. Believe me, everything from the Playboy Club and then some. And she said to me, we were up in Provincetown and we were doing a show at the White Wind Inn the next afternoon. She goes, there's something missing. Could you help? I sat up all night and wrote a script about a radio show. And I just said to everyone that was in it, just follow her and I. Follow our leads. It'll work out. And it did. The next year I headlined a new Mel Torme review, a show. I didn't have anyone to play piano. She said, I've got you this guy, Tom Lamarck. Okay. The day before the show, I met Tom at where he was staying. I forget the name. They had a beautiful grand piano that the owner of the inn brought from where he's from England. I handed Tom my book. We opened it up. And in 1 hour, this man knew every note that Albee Barr had written over 16 years. That's how long it took to really perfect the Torme, because I never was ever looking to imitate Mel Torme. It's impossible.
But you embody him so much on stage. You've got that same quality in your voice that he had in his voice, which is saying something. Is he your favorite singer?
He was one of 3. I would be singing him in my bedroom with the door closed, in the shower. And my brothers would say, if you don't stop talking about this guy, Mel Torme. I said, but he wrote the Christmas song. And he, both famous Christmas songs, White Christmas and the Chestnuts, written by 2 Jewish guys.
Yes.
Berlin and Mel Torme. It's very important that people know that. But Mel Torme just had a knack. And he worked with the most incredible arrangers. And he was in his own right a fabulous arranger. But it was Mel Torme, of course, Perry Como. Perry Como had a style like none other. He really did. And next to Elvis Presley, he had more number 1 hits. The only one that had more than he did, I think, was Elvis Presley. According to RCA Victor. Mm-hmm. And my third, Dean Martin. This man had a style that was so unique above everyone else. Frank Sinatra, there isn't enough that you could say. And now you can say anything about him because he's no longer with us. So
you know what the 3 of those had in common is they didn't push.
No.
It just seemed like it just eased right out of them.
I saw Dean Martin at the now closed, God forgive me, Westchester Theater. That
closed. I'm so sorry about that.
When I saw that, I tell you, I had to take a Xanax.
Me too.
It just broke my heart because I worked there. And Dean Martin played there for a week many years ago. You couldn't get in there or get a ticket it didn't matter if you knew John Gotti, you couldn't get in. And he wasn't a chicken then. And this man got up for 2 hours. And the audience, and he talked to the audience, and he kibitzed with them, and he sang to them, and he did numbers that you don't even hear today. But this is what they gave. They weren't singing for themselves. They were singing for that person in the 8th row, in the 15th row in the balcony. That's what this business is about. It's about going to the movies and watching the credits, because the people that put that movie on deserve that, but everyone gets off their tuchus and they're out the door because they have to go to a diner.
And going to a Broadway theater, for all of you who are listening, and getting up and walking out of the theater when those actors are taking their bows is the rudest thing that you could possibly do, turning your back on those actors that you've just spent a couple of hours with, and then walking out. It drives me up the wall.
Yeah. Billy Crystal in 700 Sundays. If any of you get it on Netflix or whatever, when he worked on that show for 5 years, it was about his life growing up in Long Beach, Long Island. And for whatever reason, the week that we went to see the show, Patti LuPone was in Gypsy, and someone took a picture when she was doing her 11 o'clock number, and she stopped the conductor and she bawled the crap. Wanted that person evicted. Well, don't you know it? At the end of 700 Sundays, because he tells you this is not stand-up comedy. This is my life. And it was outstanding to the degree that when you left there, you were leaving with pains in your stomach from laughing and joy in your heart from what he gave you. And that night when he came back for an encore, he was kibitzing with the audience, and someone's phone or something went off. He went ballistic on this person. He said, the nerve that you have. I've put in over 5 years, 5 years of my guts, and you couldn't turn off. I can't use the words now.
No, I
and
know.
He had every right. But to those people that don't understand it.
I went to see a show. This was a play a few years ago, and it was the pivotal moment in the show. And a woman in the front row, her cell phone went off. And it was one of those rings that gets louder and louder and louder until you and she couldn't find it in her purse because she had so much stuff in her purse. And it ruined the director walked out on stage and said, stop the show. And we'll as soon as you have found your phone and turn it off, we'll resume the show. But it was already gone. It ruined it for the rest of us.
It does. It breaks the curtain.
I want to ask you, Warren, with all that you've done, and you've done the Borscht Belt, you've done the condo circuit, you've done cabaret, you've done casinos, you've done theater, you sing. Is there one area that you've always wanted to do that you haven't done?
I want to play Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman. I'm not kidding. I love theater more than anything in the world.
Well, why don't you do a Zoom reading of the play?
It's a very good idea. You could play one of the sons.
Watch.
It's a great idea, and only because you're bringing that up. And when I talk about theater, even shows like a chorus line. You were talking the other day about standing room only. If I didn't go to at least 100 Broadway shows where I stood, and what did we pay in those days, Richard? $5 or $6?
I know.
To do, and I would pay again $5 to go see those shows again. When Follies first opened on Broadway originally, I always wanted to play Buddy. Now I'm no dancer; I can barely walk. I did get my chance once in a regional theater production to play Buddy, but when you talk about doing and zooming, I am working with a gal who you probably know, Lydia Sabasto.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
She is she's just an incredible arranger.
And you want to know something? She's watching.
I love you, my Lyd.
Yes.
I love you because I was just with her. We were in West Hampton on Tuesday. We were filming at the West Hampton Playhouse because, here it is. I'm going to let it out. Everyone's going to know. I started to write a show called Mr. Saturday Night, and I got that title from Billy Crystal when he made the movie Mr. Saturday Night. And it's a little bit of a cross between the original Tonight Show, which you don't see today, because when Johnny Carson was hosting, people came out, that Rodney Dangerfield did his stand-up, Stephen Eady sang or whatever. You don't see that today. And a little bit of the Carol Burnett Show, where you'd have skits and some humor. And we are putting together this show. And through the graciousness and help through two producers who you know very well, Casting New Lives.
Oh, good. Robin Brinker, give them
Robin Brinker, who I adore them, and Scott Barbarino from Scobar.
Great.
I'm assisting, and we are working on this, and it's going to be like a 30-40 minute show. That's all we really need, and it's going to be done live and recorded so that we can stream it, and there'll be no problems. There'll be nobody missing a beat or a recording, or the mic doesn't work. I don't want that to happen. But I'm not going to give away the intro to the show, because it was an idea that I came up with, and everyone just said, we were going to recommend that to you. I said, so it was meant to be, and we're hoping, we're looking at a
my people have a word, it's called beschert.
Beschert. Thank you. Boy, for you to tell me that, that's pretty good, you know. But we're working on this, and Lydia has been, and we've written parodies for it. A friend of hers, Marianne Clune, the woman's a genius parody writer. And another friend, Celeste, I'm working with all these gals. I'm having a great time. What can I say? But Lydia is just brilliant, and it's going to be something that we can do virtually, because we have to. I'm not giving up. And
I hear so many people say, I want my life back.
I
go, this is your life right now. This is it. And you have two choices. You can embrace this and try to make it work, or you can, sit around being frustrated all the time.
Well,
and it's the same thing, and you know this, Warren, better than anybody. In this business, after this is over, you and I will talk further. I don't want to get political, but about what I'm about to say, everyone's going to know what I'm thinking. You don't always get what you want in life, folks.
That's right.
And when you audition for a show and you don't get the show that you want, it's okay to cry and weep and wallow in self-pity, but then get off your keister and get out there and go to the next one.
That's right.
That's what you have to do.
You have to do it. I cannot tell you, Richard, how many. I've done not a lot, but I've done a significant number of commercials for television. And I'll walk into the audition. You spend more time waiting to go in to audition for the part
then you spin in the room.
And I'll see these young kids, and they're sitting there and they're looking and they're perspiring. I hope I got it and I get it. I said, listen, if you get it, you get it. And if you don't, you go on to the next one. Because if you sit there and grisha and agonize over it, you'll never be prepared for the next one.
And our mutual friend, Russ Woolley, who we both love.
I love him.
Says rejection is God's protection.
It is. Oh.
Think of that, and that's the best thing. You do it, you audition, and you move on.
If you get everything you want in your life, you were brought up with a silver spoon. And that isn't good. It isn't good. It really isn't. And I say to people even today, what's happening in the world, we only saw happen in the movies. It was not reality.
But the other thing, Warren, if I can interrupt, when it comes to what's going on in the world right now, we're not responsible.
No.
We're not responsible as to whether or not somebody wears a mask or does not wear a mask, or if someone washes their hands or doesn't wash their hands, or social distances or does not. But what we do have going for us is how we respond to it.
Yes.
And that's all we have. I can't believe this. We're at the end of our show. I'm going to have you back. Would you come back?
And how about tomorrow? What time?
I'm taking tomorrow off.
More importantly, what are you serving? That's what.
Warren, I love you so much. I want to say to everybody, first of all, thank you all for being here tonight. We had a great audience. I saw some of your names popping up.
I sure hope you show up when I do a show.
They will, trust me. If you enjoyed the show, and I hope you all did, and if you haven't done so already, please go to my website and sign my guest book with your thoughts about the show, because that helps to boost me in other markets. If you've already signed the guest book, you don't have to go back and do it again. It's just that name that's there that says, I had a good time tonight. I also end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. I want you to go to your Facebook friends list, go to the fifth name that pops up, and give them a call. Let them know what they mean in your lives. Because as Warren said earlier in the show, life is too short. There's so many people, and we know who they are. They're around us, but they're not physically here. So reach out to those people. Let them know what they mean to you. And as I said, I'm taking tomorrow off. But Monday night at 5 o'clock, I am very excited about this. I have Thomas Quinn, and we're going to be talking about his book, What Do You Do with a Chocolate Jesus? And I am reading this book. I've got it right here. It is one of the funniest books I have ever read on religion and how religion owns us and how we own religion and how we respond to it and all of that. Very funny book. I'm looking forward to sitting down with him on Monday night. And before we end the show, Warren, I'm turning it over to you. Anything you want to say about anything that we've discussed this evening? Anything that we didn't talk about that you wish that we had talked about? Or just any message that you want to put out to everyone who's listening tonight? I thank you, Warren, for all that you do. I want to thank you for the gifts that you've given to the world and that you will continue to give. WarrenSchein.com right there on the screen. Visit his website. Keep up with what he's doing. Trust me, you're in for a good time. I love you, Warren.
I love you too. And you've been very generous and always there for all of us. And when I mentioned earlier about that 3-day weekend we were working, people would say, Warren, you're the busiest guy in the business. And I'll say, but half of it I never get paid for. And I just do it good. But you know what? You can't buy that kind of publicity. You can't spend that money. So when Richard Skipper calls you, and would you like to be in? You got to get dressed, pack your grip bag, get off your ass and go, because he's going to make sure that everyone in the world knows who you are. And that's what makes Richard Skipper celebrate, makes you celebrate. And stop complaining, moaning, and groaning. Go on with your lives. Keep moving. Be nice. Be happy to one another. No matter how they treat you, smile. And when you feel bad, call me. God bless you all. I love you.
Love you too. Thank you. And make it a greater tomorrow.
Better.